again, somebody who goes down in folklore, with not just at Tranmere but within football. People talk about who's the hard men of football, and Eric Nixon, somebody who cropped up, a big brute of a man, dominated, had a presence, but again, you do your hard work. He'd look after you. I remember I'm sure everybody's aware that back then, football was slightly different. There was always a Tuesday club. And everyone was expected to engage in the Tuesday club, after training. And I remember him saying, Tuesdays, you do the hard work, you get the rewards. And the reward was a night out Tuesday night, if we weren't playing, of course. So, yeah, I remember Eric in there, and to say you wouldn't. I say this jokingly, you wouldn't want to write hook off Eric Nixon. That's all I would say.
Did Eric ever kind of give you one of his performances as Elvis or any of his other acts that he did?
No, not really, but I'd heard about them. I can't remember if I was at the club over Christmas or not. I can't quite remember, but there was several nights out that he came out, I believe. But no, maybe those days had possibly passed. Maybe age was not on his side at the time, but I've heard from people like, say, Alan Rogers, to talk about him, a young player growing up at Tranmere, 15, 16, 17, 18, and he told me the story about Eric Nixon back then, and other people who had come across Eric in their careers had always spoke, oh, you were out at Tranmere on loan, did you see Eric Nixon? So he's somebody that goes down as probably the character that's probably no longer in the game.
It's interesting, like just listening to you speaking to naming some of the names of just how kind of, in a way, I don't know if insular is the right word for Tranmere as a club, but you look at some of the people you talk about. Les Parry spent 20 years there and eventually ended up as manager. Mickey Mellon has come back he had 2 spells as a player, 2 spells as a manager. Nico must have come back 3 or 4 times as goalkeeping coach to go alongside his 10, 12, 15-year playing year association with the club. Gary Jones had 2 stints. Ian Hume had 2 stints. Achterberg was there for 10 years. You were only there fleetingly, but did you get the impression that they were a club who, once you kind of got embedded in it, there would always be the door open to go back, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that tells you what you've just highlighted, a lot about the club. It's got some very good cultural values and beliefs, and some really deep roots in what it's about, a clear identity. So I think that clear identity, those deep roots, that ability to be encompassing rather than excluding people, is the reasons why people came back. And looking back over my career, I have children now that don't really talk about my football career, although it wasn't nothing to talk about anyway. But they didn't see me play football, but they have some shirts that are in the loft, really. And one of the only shirts I ever kept throughout my career. I don't have my own team, which is Swansea, that I grew up. I don't have that shirt, but I do have my Tranmere shirt, which is in my loft. So it's sentimental. Reasons why I kept that, because it was a good period of my career. I loved it, and to be honest, I can remember my last game, I believe, was Northampton away. We won 4-0, and I was really disappointed that the loan deal wasn't extended. I don't know why that happened. Maybe Ray didn't think I was right for Tranmere, and I'm okay with that. That's fine. But if the opportunity had arisen where Ray had said, look, we want to take this further, we'll take over your contract at Forest, I think I still had 2 years left of a 4-year contract, I'd have snapped his hand off.
That's interesting to hear. It is, and you're right, a 4-0 defeat away to a win away at Northampton to finish your Tranmere time. I want to talk about 2 maybe less happy memories before then, though. I think you probably know which games I'm talking about. You had in a week, you lost 6-1 at Southampton in the League Cup and 6-1 at Mansfield in the league, which you mentioned Alex Hay earlier. He scored his first ever Tranmere goal in that one, and then you conceded 6 in the second half. The Southampton game must have been particularly galling. I'm just looking at the starting lineup they had that day. Brett Ormerod, James Beattie, Chris Marsden, Anders Svensson, Matt Oakley, Wayne Bridge, Klaus Lundekvarn was playing, Jason Dodd, Antti Niemi. There's a good Southampton side, although you probably didn't expect to ship 6.
Yeah, I think, again, I'm a football coach in many ways these days, and you can accept losing, and you can lose 6-1, you can lose 6-0 to teams. I think it's probably more the manner that we lost would be probably gut-wrenching for people. because we probably laid down and died that second half that day. That's the bit at the time I remember John McMahon having some harsh words, particularly at me, which I'm fine with that. I'm a centre half. I'm expected to do better. So yeah, they were tough times. And as you get older, probably when you're a lot younger, you take the defeat and it hurts for Sunday, maybe Monday, maybe not even Tuesday. But as you get older, you recognise those defeats hurt more. So I can see why it would hurt someone like John, whose career had finished but was coaching, because he's instilling everything into that game, and then to repeat it, I think the following Saturday, or if it was the Saturday before against Mansfield, is not acceptable. And again, it's not. When I hear people say, "Oh, they want it more," I don't think Mansfield wanted it more or Southampton wanted it more. Players don't go out to perform poorly, and I'm still believe that. I don't deliberately do that. But they are accountable for their actions, and we were accountable that night, and it's not good enough when you lose that. But it happens to the best teams. Look at Man United this year at Liverpool. That's part of it. It's something that, as a player, you go down and you're not proud of, and it's good that you're able to talk back and think about it, acknowledging that. I think problems you have is when people do not have denial over those. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't me. No, it's a collective. So we're all to blame that night. And yeah, not good for Tranmere on those two occasions.